All right, I think did that change it? Okay, I think I have audio now. Let me work on theirs. For some reason, it literally changed the audio to being. Okay, there we go. All right, I think we're good now. Can y'all give me a little audio
Yeah,
test? Okay.
I'm hearing you.
Okay,
You
sorry about
are?
that, guys. For
Oh my
some
God.
reason, YouTube or my OBS changed all of the every single one of my settings and cameras and microphones all to this random digit. I have no idea why that happened. But anyways, once again, welcome everybody to another episode of Circle of the Earth Fellowship. I apologize about that, but we'll just straight on get into it. Again, our episode today is episode 29, Tribulation. So we're going to be reading the last couple chapters of Jeremiah and look at the tribulation that Jeremiah and the people of his time went through. And then we're going to be jumping up here to our modern time and kind of connecting some of those tribulations and parts of it to things that we're currently going through, and also the prospect of future things that we could, go through tribulation. So, again, once again, thank you all for being patient with us. And like always, before we get into the topic, we'll go ahead and say hello to everyone. We got Frankie B with us, one of the musicians in Born a Time. So how you doing, Frankie B?
Oh, shalom, shalom, everyone. Let's do it. I just drank a cup of coffee, so I'm a little wound up. Excited for the show. Yeah, I'm the guitar player and one of the singers in Born Out of Time. My friend Nick is our drummer and our excellent singer. So there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go,
And,
go, baby.
of course, if you stick around to the end, you can always hear Dig Deep. That's our outro, but you can also check it out on the Circle of the Earth channel. Anyways, let's say hello to everyone else. We got our dear sister Marsha. How you doing this evening?
Very well, thank you. And it's good to see everybody here. And I hope we have a great show. Shalom to everybody. Not Shabbat here, so shalom.
Awesome. And we got Nick with us as well, singer and drummer of Born Out of Time. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. And tonight, if anyone wants to play the Circle of the Earth Fellowship Roundtable drinking game, you can participate. Here are the rules. Every time Marcia says, "I don't know," you take a shot. Every time Vader goes to the extreme logical example to make a point, you take a shot. And every time Frankie every time Frankie brings up what he ate for the intro, or he asks Vader to turn up the volume on the outro song, you take a shot. And I'll let you guys
and if
decide. Yeah, my rule.
and if
Yeah, go ahead.
and if Nick leaves before the show's over, you drink the rest
Yes.
of the bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
And if Vader brings up Nimrod, you take 2 shots.
Oh, that was it, Frank.
I was actually going to interrupt you and say, no, mine should be Nimrod, but yeah. Yes, I do say literally a lot, even when it's not literally, which is interesting because I think they changed the definition of literally to mean not literally. But anyways. Yes, and
They changed another definition, huh?
And make sure you use shots of water.
Of course.
But anyways, yeah, well.
Or your favorite flavored iced tea.
But yeah, awesome. Welcome everybody. Welcome everyone in chat. I see. Hope I'm getting some echo from me, Frankie.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that.
No worries. I just want to shout out some people. We got our dear sister Wendy Moore. Marsha's in chat as well. We got Luke Andrew, Shalom brother. We got Nick and Frankie B, of course. We got Flat Earth Arkansas FEAR. We got Lisa Sevier. Sorry if I butchered that. Welcome. We got Bassman. We got Gina Siska. and my dear wife, the Mrs. Vader. So yeah, welcome everybody. Hope y'all are excited for the show. And I gave you a little bit a tidbit of it, but of course, before we get into the scripture, and there's just 2 chapters we're reading tonight, we're going to. I just want to show up a couple things. So first off. We're at 570, so again, welcome. Thank you to all of those new subscribers. I'll show those in just a minute. And of course, we're also streaming on Take on the World, so shout out to JJ Hemp Creek Bear, to Ryetta Lay, to Nancy Luxem Turtle. Thank you all for being here. Thank y'all for the patience as well, dealing with those technical difficulties. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out Chris and Liz. And if y'all haven't checked out Take on the World, they have stuff all week. So Mondays they have Disrupted Lands, Tuesdays Sound Off, Wednesdays they got Sip Resistance, Thursdays they got Flat Out Insights. Of course, we're on that Friday spot, and then Ian does his Fridays or Saturdays, typically Saturdays. So check them out if you haven't. Give them a subscribe if you haven't. And of course, if you're over there and you haven't checked out Circle of the Earth, I definitely appreciate any subscription. It's free. It doesn't hurt anyone, and I think we provide some good content. And then one last thing, we're starting to have shorts coming out. So there'll be a short coming out every Wednesday, and so look forward to those. The first one is about the Franz Ferdinand assassination. If you haven't checked it out, appreciate doing that. And then lastly, remember that we read out the comments from the last video. So if you have something you want to say, go ahead and write out a comment. We'll read it at the end of the stream. And of course, I guess this is the last thing. The other was second to last. Make sure if you make sure to check out the Discord. We're always open to adding new voices to the round table. So if you are interested in that and sharing your puzzle pieces around the table, look into the Discord. Link is in the description. But yeah, other than that, we set our lows, kind of got over our housekeeping, so we can go ahead and get into the let me pull this up. So I'm going to read this for everyone, and I'm going to do it a little bit different. So it's not just looking at text. You're going to get to see something else. So bear with me for just a moment. And let's go like this. And here we go. All right. Hey, everyone. Hope y'all are having a great night. But I'm going to read for y'all and just kind of see my face and as I'm reading. So let's get into this. So this is Jeremiah 51. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me, a destroying wind. And will send unto Babylon fanners, that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of the trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that is bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth up in his brigade line, and spare ye not young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin, and against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken, that the nations drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Babylon suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, so it will be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country. For her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and lifteth up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. For the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. The Lord of hosts shall swarm by himself, saying, Surely I will fill thee with men, as with the caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. He hath made the earth by his power, he has established the world by his wisdom, and he has stretched out the heaven by his understanding. When he utter his voice, there is a multitude of waters in heaven, and he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For the molten image is falsehood, that there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and my weapons of war. For with thee will I break into pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy the kingdoms. And with thee I will break into pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee I will break into pieces the chariots and his rider. With thee also I will break in pieces man and woman, and with thee I will break in pieces young and old, and with thee I will break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, for with thee I will break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen. And with thee I will break into pieces captains and rulers. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will roll thee down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. And there shall not take out of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but they shall be desolate forever, saith the Lord. Yet set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. Call together against her the kingdoms of Arat, Minni, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her. Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. The land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of the Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant. The mighty men of Babylon have forebode to fight. They are remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They have become as women. They have burned her dwellingless places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to sue the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end. And the passages are stopped, and the reeds that are burned with fire, and the men of war affrighted. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon hath devoured me. He hath cursed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. Delicacies, sorry. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon. Shall the inhabitants of Zion shall say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. And Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment and a hissing without inhabitant. There shall roar together like lions, they shall yell as lions whelp. In the heat I will make their feast, and I will make them drunken, that they may rejoice and sleep a particular sleep, and not awake, saith the Lord. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shashkach taken? How is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The sea is come up from Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of waves thereof. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land, a wilderness, a land within no man dwelleth, nor doth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Bel in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that he hath swallowed up, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Ye, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go ye out the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and in the violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole island shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth and all that there is in shall sing for Babylon, for the spoilers shall come out unto her from the north, saith the Lord. As Babylon hath said the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. Yet that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember the Lord afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind. We are confounded, because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces, for strangers are come into the sanctuaries of the Lord's house. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will do judgment upon her graven images, and all her land that wounded shall groan. Sorry guys, we're almost done there, so just bear with me a little bit more. Though Babylon shall mount up to heaven, and she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoil come unto her, saith the Lord. A cry of a cry cometh from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, because the Lord hath spoiled Babylon and destroyed out all of her great voice. When her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered. Because the spoil is come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken. Every one of their bows is broken. For the Lord God of recompense shall surely requite. And I will make drunk her princes, and make her wise men, her captains, and her rulers, and her mighty men, that they shall sleep a particular sleep, and not wake, saith the King, whose name is the Lord of hosts. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burnt with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the fork in the fire, and they shall be weary. The Lord which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Sahariah, the son of Neri, the son of Messiah, when he went with Zedekiah the king of Judah into Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. And this Sariah was a quiet prince. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babylon, even all these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Sariah, when thou comest to Babylon, and shalt see, and shall read all these words, then thou shalt say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place, to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever. And it shall be, when thou hast made an end of the reading his book, that thou shalt bind a stone to it, and cast it into the midst of the Euphrates. And thou shalt say, thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil which I bring upon her, and which shall be wary. For thus far are the words of Jeremiah. So thank you everyone for sticking with me through that reading. We'll go ahead and bring up here we go, boom and boom. Perfect, sweet. So everyone drink the rest of your beverage of choice, because Nick has already departed for the sleep place. So everyone wish him a sleepy day, sleepy night.
I think you broke a record. I think that's a new world
that was
record.
the quickest.
That was
Yep.
the quickest. Hello and sayonara.
Yeah, so anyways, I know that was really long, and there were parts that obviously seem repetitive, but there's a point in there. But there's a couple things that I want to cover here, and a couple questions that I want to ask. So, from my understanding, Babylon had already existed back in Genesis, right? Like during Abraham's time. And this is Jeremiah's time, right? And this isn't Nimrod, this is Nebuchadnezzar. So this is like the Babylon 2.0. Now, one thing that I really think is interesting is back up here in the beginning. Let me see. Okay, let me pull this up. So this is Jeremiah 51:53. Let me pull this back up for everyone. So it says, though the Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she shall fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall the spoils come unto her, saith the Lord. So, and then it says 54, a sound of a cry cometh from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans. So I guess what my question here is this is Babylon after it's broken apart during the 70 tribes, and we even see here mentioned before, and I guess I can bring that up in a second, but let's specifically talk about kind of what I just brought up. Doesn't that sound awfully a lot like what Nimrod did, right? Like it literally says, though Babylon shall mount up to heaven, right? That's what the tower did. And though she should fortify the height of her strength. So that's really interesting, Babylon being high, a point to mount up is, to make war with with heaven, and how it says to fortify the height of her strength. So I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the tower there, but obviously the tower is not Nebuchadnezzar, but it's kind of sounding like it's here. Do y'all have any thoughts about that, Marsha, Frankie?
You broke up a lot. So,
oh,
I
really?
guess, yeah, you were roboting on me. But I don't know if it was for everybody, but you were roboting. But I guess the tower, not during Nebuchadnezzar. So I wouldn't say that was it.
Doesn't that kind of sound like that, where it's like...
But it does. It does.
Though Babylon should mount up to heaven. And here's another thing.
Exactly.
Why are they so obsessed with that name Babylon, right? Because
I don't know.
Because I know Alexander the Great was in Babylon,
Babylon,
Cyrus
though,
the
ruled
Great,
the earth.
Nimrod. No, totally. So, but I guess what kind of my point is, why does, I guess, just because it's defeated, they just keep the name Babylon? You know what I mean? But
Oh, I see. I don't know.
and so Nebuchadnezzar, timeline wise, is after Nimrod, right? This is like the father came down and destroyed the tower, separated it out. Unless people are saying, because I know obviously what Jeremiah is writing down here, right, is going to come into play later down the line when you get into Nebuchadnezzar's son, and you know what he does with, you know, some of the artifacts of the temple, and you know, the fact that Babylon is taken over by Cyrus the Great, right? So a lot of these things that it's talking about, it's talking about Cyrus Great to come, that will eventually come. But that's after Nebuchadnezzar's reign, and that happens under his son's watch. So, and then obviously Nebuchadnezzar we'll get a little bit more into him when we get into 52. Yeah, but okay, so I don't know. It's just kind of interesting, that part right there. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Babylon means contemptuous or dismissive term for aspects of a society seen as degenerate or oppressive. So
That's Babylon.
we take the meaning of it, it's contrary to the children or the people of God or Yah's way.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it's termed Babylon, every kingdom, because it's in contention or contemptuous.
But they don't think they are.
Ways of God, of course.
So that kind of brings me an interesting thought. I wonder if they consider it Babylon, right? Like if Babylon is more of a title than a name.
Right. Now, even Caesars took on, in pharaohs, they were pharaoh. They were a pharaoh of a king that was, or you know, whatever. There were many different Caesars because they were good or righteous or strength names. So why not keep Babylon because it was so great, you know? And that's why they refer back to it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, I said I don't know.
It also has a spiritual meaning too, meaning opposition of God.
Yeah.
You know, because when Nimrod did build the tower, the term Babel came into play, which meant confusion, and all the languages were confused which broke their unity. You know what I mean? So there's also that.
Yeah, and you actually see that into play, and it obviously, this is one way you know, is because it literally says, like in 27, I'll bring this up, in 27 it says, just remember the word, it says, set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kings of Ararat, many, so on. And then it says, prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. And then it also, I don't remember where that was, I'll have to find it, but it literally says, it says something along the, not literally, it says something along the lines of like that they won't work together. And I'll have to find that real quick, but what my point is like it's showing that these people are fighting each other. This isn't like the New World Order like it was under Nimrod's Babylon. This, you know, Babylon is obviously pre the Tower of Babylon, and you can kind of see that because we already have all these nations pitted against each other.
You mean post?
Post, yes. Sorry, yes, post. My apologies. Thank you for that. But anyways,
yeah. So I think Babylon could just be a term of, you know, opposition, witchcraft, other gods. You know what I mean?
I think it I don't know. I just think I think it's a proud name for those people. That's what I think.
Or it could mean pride, because to be in opposition of God, you have to have pride. Because
Well,
it's one of the 7 things that he hates is a pride look, a pride, gesture.
well, I
You know
totally,
what
yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think Babylon is a place, right? And it's referred to as multiple places or multiple areas of being what is referred to as Babylon. But also there is a spiritual aspect of Babylon, right? So when he's like, for instance, like he during the time of Nimrod, right? Abraham, he called Abraham out of Babylon, right? But even though Nimrod technically owned the, like was the emperor of the entire world, right? The father was still able to, set him set him aside and have this set aside people, and obviously we, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and so on and so forth. But just in the same way, not only was he calling people out of the lands during Jeremiah's time, he was calling them out of the lands, but he was specifically calling them out of the lands. Why? Because of their behaviors, because of the types of things that they were doing. They were praying to false idols. They were obviously doing sacrifices and occult rituals, probably soothsaying and magic and sorcery and all those different types of things. And obviously that type of behavior brings about a certain type of society. So it's based upon behavior, and Jeremiah is obviously telling these people, like, hey, your sins have added up, your destruction is coming. And he knows that and we kind of talked last episode, was Endor, and looking at Jeremiah and what he was prophesying to come, with again that prospect of what he would have to endure, and then coming up to the actual tribulation where these things, which have been spiritual, right? He's been talking about this spiritual thing, like, hey, if you have this type of behavior, if you have this type of mindset, destruction is coming to you. And then he's, obviously he's going to see, in at least in his time, that destruction, happening in part. Now, I think like I've kind of said before, I think there's multiple layers here where we're talking not only about events and things that are happening in his time, but he's also speaking prophetically about the things that are going to continue to happen to that place Babylon, and
Right.
again, spiritually and physically.
I've heard that. I've heard that they call in our time modern Babylon all the anything that's outside of the covenant of the kingdom. You know what I mean? I've heard it referred to plenty of times in church, that those that are outside of covenant with Christ are living literally in Babylon. So you're right. It's probably a state of mind.
Also,
Position.
there is a curse that's on the land when blood is spilt. There's a curse on the land itself until it's been. Where was that? Tori, even you better pray over your property too, because you don't know how innocent blood has ever been spilt in the years past on your land. But there is a curse that goes on the land itself for all the innocent blood. So that has nothing to do with Babylon, I guess.
No, I think it does, right? Because people, I think it totally does, right? Because a lot of our time within Christendom is we didn't really understand what unclean spirits were, i.e., what people were referred to as demons, right? Like, a lot of us didn't understand that. I came to understanding that with the book of Enoch. And what my point is with that is, there's totally places and areas that are totally attached to unclean spirits, and
Oh yeah.
and so I can totally see, something as heinous act as like shedding innocent blood, how that
Yep.
would attract unclean spirits.
Yep. 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 And yeah, and they're territorial in a way too. So
Yeah. So okay, so I want to show something real quick. This is it kind of has to go with what I'm talking about here. For those that don't know, I'm a big fan of Owen Benjamin. He's I think he's really funny, and he has a good head on his shoulders. And one of my favorite things about him is like watching him go through his flat Earth. Enclosed
Yeah.
cosmology experience was quite amazing, because we all, like, at least me, I went through the same thing that he did. And so seeing someone else go through it, and all the different kind of stages of grief you go through, or not everyone, most people that I've talked to go through when it comes to that realization. But anyways, I want to show something real quick that he recently put out. He's obviously off of YouTube, but I'm just gonna play just a quick clip. It's less than a minute, maybe like 30 seconds. Hopefully this won't get me in trouble. But anyways, this is talking about like the plan that is going on. So let's watch this.
Phenomenon in the truth community where we see a coherent plan.
Oh, it's not showing you. Let me do this. Oh, and then I totally 28. Okay, here we go. Almost. Okay, here we go.
Not problem. There's this phenomenon in the truth community where we see a coherent plan. And so we say, oh, they must all be in on it, quote unquote, in on it. And I love Matt from Quantum Conscious when he talks about how few people are in on it. If anyone, that it's something called the download, where people just start behaving all at the same time, and there's no coherent, clandestine, secret meetings. Are there secret meetings and secret societies? Obviously. But the overall behavior that leads to this is, so Gonzalo on one side, and I like when there's a little conflict.
Okay, so that's pretty much all I'm going to show. But basically, I definitely, it's long, but I definitely recommend this episode in general. It's 1463. Go check it out. But anyways, the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because in this he's talking about what he calls fractal. Now, I think this is like just, choosing to live in the Father's will, or choosing to live in your own will. But you can, it's a great line of thinking. But what his point is that people working and doing and living with certain type of behaviors, those type of things kind of all add up to this bigger picture. And that's why to us it can seem like it's this consolidated plan. And like he said, of course, there's secret societies and stuff like that. And of course, they have some influence. How much we can speculate on. But what the point is how those type of behaviors cause things. And I've said this a million times, like, spiritual things cause physical repercussions. Physical things cause spiritual repercussions. And so in the same way, what he's talking about here is by doing these behaviors, it's just like these little pieces that build this fractal image that's ever expanding, and you can be on the inner part of the fractal or the large inversion. It doesn't really matter, but the point is that the behaviors causes those general things to start happening in society. And he's I think a great extra kind of proof to what he's saying is you look throughout history, right? And when they started doing certain things and talking about certain things and behaving in certain ways, what happened? Their nations were destroyed. Right. And so I kind of want to bring that up before we get into 52. But any thoughts about what y'all heard there?
Well, I watched that. I couldn't hear a thing, but because I have what? Never mind. I watched it before already, and it was interesting that you can even be doing things that you think are good, and you're part of that fractal, and it's not. You're doing from the flesh area or whatever. It really is interesting, and it does take its. It just progresses, doesn't it? It just slowly progresses, and it was interesting.
Yeah, and it makes you think of how, like, when you look at your life, how we can easily look at little sins, right? Like, we can look at little sins and kind of overlook them. Like the Ten Commandments, they're not important anymore, or all the other things, like, oh, we don't need to do those anymore, or whatever it is, and how you can justify those little sins, but how those little sins add up and create this bigger picture. And it's not just your sins, it's everyone else's sins. It's the sins of the nations. And this fractal that is made while in sin is something that the Father can't stand for. And so eventually he has to come down and put his judgment on the people.
Right. You don't even realize sometimes that you are adding to that whole big picture. It just keeps growing. It's amazing. Yeah, it was interesting. Very interesting show he did.
Yep. So those that don't know, check him out, bitshoot.com. Here's this specific video, but of course, you click on his channel, you can get all his other videos. But anyways, so let's get over into 52. Now, this one is not as long as the other. It's only 34, so it won't take as long. But I still think it's kind of important. Obviously, ending. We're going to be moving on to the next prophet, but I also want to get into the modern stuff. So let me pull that up, and we'll get into it, and then we'll go from there. So here is Jeremiah. Here is Jeremiah 52. So Zedekiah was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Helmutah, the daughter of Jeremiah of Lebnah. And he did that which was evil in the eyes of the Lord, according to all the Jehoiakim had done. For though the anger of the Lord, it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, till he had cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. And it came to pass in the 90th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 20th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his army, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and built forts against it round about. So the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And in the 4th month, in the 9th day of the month, the famine was sore in the city, so that there was no bread for the people of the land. Then the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled, and went forth out of the city by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were by the city round about, and they went by the way of the plain. But the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho, and all his army was scattered from him. Then they took the king, and carried him up to the king of Babylon in Riblah, in the land of Hamath, where he gave judgment upon him. And the king of Babylon slew the son of Zedekiah before his eyes. He slew also all the princes of Judah in Riblah. Then he put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and the king of Babylon bound him in chains, and carried him to Babylon, and put him in prison to the day of his death. Now in the 5th month, in the 10th day of the month, which was the 9th year of the Nebuchadnezzar's king of Babylon, came Nebuchadnezzar, captain of the guard, which served the king of Babylon, into Jerusalem, and burned the house of the Lord, and the king's houses, and the houses of Jerusalem, and all the houses of the great men burned with fire. And all the army of the Chaldeans that were with the captains of the guard brake down all the walls of Jerusalem round about. The Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, carried away captive certain of the poor of the people and residue of the people that remained in the city, and those that fell away fell to the king of Babylon and to the rest of the multitude. But Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, left certain of the poor of the land for the vine dressers and the husbandmen. Also, the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the bases, and the brazen sea that was in the house of the Lord, the Chaldeans brake and carried all the brass of them to Babylon. The cauldrons also, and the shovels, and the snuffles, and the bowls, and the spoons, and all the vessels of brass with they ministered, took them away. And the basins, and the fire pans, and the bowls, and the cauldrons, and the candlesticks, and the spoons, and the cups which were of gold, and that was in silver, took the captain of the guard away. The 2 pillars, 1 sea, and 12 brazen bowls that were under the bases, which King Solomon had made in the house of the Lord, the brass of all these vessels was without weight. And concerning the pillars, the heights of 1 pillar was 18 cubits, and the fillet of the 12 cubits did compass it, and the thickness thereof was 4 fingers, it was hollow. And a chapter of brass was upon it, and the height of 1 chapter was 5 cubits, with network and pomegranates upon the chapters around about, all of brass. The 2nd pillar also, the pomegranates which were like unto these, and they were 96 pomegranates on a side, and all the pomegranates upon the network, which were 100 round about. And the captain of the guard took Senaiah the chief priest, and Zephaniah the 2nd priest, and the 3 keepers of the door. He took also out of the city an eunuch which had the charge of men of war, and 7 men of them that were near the king's person, which were found in the city, and the principal scribe of the hosts, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the midst of the city. So Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, took them and brought them to the king of Babylon to Riblah. And the king of Babylon smote them, and put them to death in Riblah, and in the land of Hamath. Thus Judah was carried away captive out of his own land. This is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive. In the 7th year, 3,000 Jews, 3,023. In the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, he carried away captives from Jerusalem, 1,832 persons. So these are the people he got from Judah, and these are the people he got from Jerusalem. And then in the 23rd year of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive of Judah 745 persons, and all the persons were 4,600. And it came to pass in the 7th and 13th year of the captivity of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, in the 12th month, in the 5th and 20th day of the month, that evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the 1st year of his reign, lifted up the head of Jebediah, king of Judah, and brought him forth out of prison, and spake kindly unto him, and set his throne above the throne of the kings that were with him in Babylon, and changed his prison garments, and he did continually eat bread before all the days of his life. And for this diet there was a continual diet given him of the king of Babylon, every day a portion, unto the day of his death, all the days of his life. So I definitely want to get into that last little portion there, because I think that's really interesting. But what my kind of point here is just like, what did all of those, like we had read in Jeremiah, like what, when he, when judgment came upon them, what did they, what did their graven images do? When, did they stop their judgment coming down? No. So what did all of those behaviors allowed through those idols and all those behaviors for those idols, what did that profit them in the end? Absolutely nothing, because they were taken out of their land as captives. Like, imagine, they didn't just get to fight to the death. No, they were so overtaken that
Right.
that their men ran, their warriors were scared and ran from the city at night. And
Right.
when they were taken all the way to Rebla and then executed. And
Right.
so the type of shame that those people felt, I think would probably be great. And I wonder, just obviously this is speculation. I'm not looking for an actual answer, but I wonder, how many of them, kind of ego checked and was like, oh my gosh, I know exactly why this happened. I'm going to turn back to the correct ways even through this tribulation. So they definitely endured to the end. And then how many of the people were prideful in their, mistake and the rebellion against the Father and his behavior, and to their very end. Just interesting.
Stayed
thought.
angry. Just stayed angry. Fists at God. Something like that. But there's possibly others saw that God was really working. Because Jeremiah, weren't there a couple things that happened that he was prophetic about that happened prior to this destruction? And even the king was saying, this happened and this happened, so is what's going to happen now? And he says, just repent.
Yeah.
And it'll, but he doesn't.
Yeah,
So,
and that's one of the reasons why he's a weeping prophet. And again, guys, we're not in-depth study of Jeremiah. We're reading a little bit and mixing in with real world stuff, which we're going to get to very shortly. But yeah, like, I think that with that type of behavior comes consequences, and we see this over and over and over. And not only that, the type of behavior, look at what their warriors were. Let's compare the warriors who ran away from their city at night, right, compared to Joshua and while they were coming into the land. Completely
Right.
two different types of same
Right.
people, two different armies.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so we mentioned a couple things there. So I kind of want to get into some modern stuff and things that will kind of, we're going up against. So one of the first things that it was mentioned there was famine. So all I literally did was go to Google and type in famine and hit news. And we're just going to kind of look through this. Now, this isn't for the purpose of monetizing fear. Obviously, that's not the type of person I am, but I want to show all these things and explain it a little bit. So here in famine, we got a few things. It says, quite terrible, close to 1 million people in famine. UN economic I'm saying says. Harsha joins Yahoo Finance person to discuss the worsening global food crisis. And then we got drought is pushing Somalia towards catastrophic famine. Lessons from Irish history on the consequences of ignoring in Somalia. A call for action from Canadian government to prevent famine in Afghanistan. 2 refugee crises and the dark lessons from the coming, and I think it said, let's pull this up just to see what it says. And from the coming famine. Oh my gosh. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, right, is because these people, while the war's going on, right, they ran out of bread. The people of the land didn't have bread to eat.
Correct.
Okay.
They didn't have anything. Yeah.
Yep. So they weren't just beaten in war, right? They were utterly beaten in every way, to where they were dragged from their own country and brought to another land before they were executed. And part of that destruction was the fire. We saw that they went in there and they put all the houses on fire, in the midst of all their area, put it all on fire. And we're constantly bombarded by fires. And, we could get into, we're not going to get into what these fires are caused from. Obviously, you know, we know that they don't let any good crisis go to waste, so they love crisis. So there is a, you know, a motivation right there, a motive to be participating in these. But what my point is we have a whole bunch here. Wildfire rages near France's, I have no idea how to say that, wine region. We got a few on there. Drought in England, fire rages in France. We got stunning video captures fire whirl in California. Watch Firenado swirl out of the largest brush fire in California. So we got all these things. Now, we had some fires, quite a bit of fires in our county. But if you just go through this, you know, this you know, extreme drought that they're talking about is causing, you know, famines. And then we also have this extreme drought causing fires, which is really interesting because I'm going to bring this up real quick. I don't think I can do it without losing audio, but those that go back, go check out the thumbnail. We got a few different things there. We got a wheat farm on fire. A wheat field on fire. This is in Ukraine. And I can't tell that they're very similar people. So it's either a Russian or Ukrainian camera person there. And if you go look up that actual picture, you can just type in Ukraine war large pictures and you'll find it. Actually, I can just do that real quick for you. Let me pull up another window. But the reason why I put those, so we got that. We have some plant. We have up in the top right. You have a plant fires going on. And I'm typing warehouse fires. Ukraine in war. And then so I went here, tools, to show y'all real quick. Oh, I'm in videos. And let's go here, large. See if I can find it. There we go. So this is a guy standing in the middle of wheat farm. Now, I don't know if y'all know, but a lot of our wheat comes from Ukraine. We import a lot of wheat from Ukraine, and these fires, right, nothing to do with the war, even though when I search Ukrainian war, we see this huge, you know, swath of land on fire. Now, that obviously ties right into fire, to war, right? So these people were under the sword too, right?
Right.
And so we see here, you know, Russia's war in Ukraine, Russia-Ukrainian war. Zelensky tells officers to stop leaking tactics. Ukrainian tribals may tackle Russia's war crimes. We also have the stuff with Taiwan and the you know, beef with China, and China claiming Taiwan as their country, and China saying no, that is our country. So yeah, it just, what my point is guys, just like Jeremiah was, we are all beseeched by these things. Like maybe right now in your place on this plane, you aren't going through famine, or you aren't going through wars, or you aren't going through fires, but we are all definitely going through different forms of tribulation. And so back to Jeremiah, is Jeremiah, like Marsha was pointed out, I'm sure many of y'all know, kept warning them, hey, this is going to happen. It happens, but they don't repent. Hey, this is going to happen. They don't repent. It happens. Up to the point where he's like, okay, what's going to be the next thing? Where they're more trying to stop that thing from happening instead of ego checking and looking at their behavior and why the Father is, you know, is bringing tribulation upon them, why he's bringing judgment upon them.
Exactly.
So I think we should be definitely during our times, when right now, again, we don't have war on our...
Later.
Oh, what's up, brother?
Yeah, you know all this stuff is planned. I mean, we have enough resources to feed the whole world. There is billions and billions and trillions of dollars out there that are hoarded by a small group of elites. We have enough resources to feed the whole realm. This is all planned out. China moving into Taiwan, that was planned out after Russia moved into Ukraine. They hijacked the election so all this could be played out. This is all planned out by the globalists. I mean, it's sad. They're claiming it's global warming, and we know they're doing weather manipulation. Now they're burning crops. They're burning everything. They're just trying to cause more and more fear. And the more people wake up, the more they panic, and the more they try to cause fear. I don't see this as judgment. I see this as manipulation.
There's manipulation, but I think there's judgment in there too.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, just that God uses some of those people to bring the judgment. You think, so whatever.
Exactly, and
so
we
you're
see that
he's bringing judgment on innocent and poor, impoverished people, because that's who's really affected by this.
No, so this is
as the first world crumbles, the third world dies. You get that?
No, totally. So
the
basically,
third world are innocent people that are suffering, and it's manipulation. I don't really believe it's judgment.
Well, there's also it tells us about believers. Into captivity you will go, die by the sword. Things happen. Yes.
And what I was going to say is, like, that's the thing. And that's why it's so important. And I'll kind of take it back to Joshua, right? Like, during Joshua's time, the reason they were able to righteously cast stones is because they were all doing the behavior that the Father had asked them to a T. You only had exceptions to those people. The majority, the majority of those people were following those things. So, excuse me one second. So, of course, the atmosphere was, in the behavior that they did, the fractal that they were creating was one that the Father wanted. And so you see them be uplifted, and you see them do these miraculous things and fight against people that in all rights they shouldn't be able to win against, but they come out on top. And I bring that up because I agree with you on one hand, Frankie, that I think a lot of the stuff, like the scarcity, the famines, and all those things are engineered. If not only propaganda, if they're physically doing things like setting plants on fire, food processing plants, etc. If those things are obviously happening, obviously that's happening. But as Marsha was saying, we know here that Nebuchadnezzar was used. This man was used by the Father to bring judgment upon Israel. Now, you're correct. There are poor and innocent people that are hurt during that process. And that's why, again, back to Joshua, it's so important that we are following his will, because just a little, just kind of like, when you're drawing a straight line from one point to the other, like boats or airplanes, if they just get a little off course over a long amount of time, they're going to be way off of course, exponentially off course, the further they go down that path. So it's the same way it's which these countries, these peoples, these nations, they have gone down their trajectory, though in the beginning those small sins were so small, but the trajectory was changed by that small amount that it just increased to where they were no longer in any relationship with the Father. They were completely adapted to Babylon, and then Babylon comes in and gets and kills them all, and or takes them captive or imprisons them. So you see, I agree.
Well,
I think a lot of stuff is manufactured, but I think even through those manufactured or real events, that the Father
Right.
uses that in His way.
Yep.
right. Well, what does fear do?
Well,
Fear distracts you from praising and worshiping the Father. If you're consumed with fear and worried about your bills, worried about feeding your family, worried about your job shutting down or the supply chains breaking down, you're so consumed with that you really you don't do it on purpose, but you stop praising the Father, you stop glorifying Him, and you start to worry about your own self-worth, your own prosperity. And not enough people stay focused on the Father. And that's what all this supply chain breakdown, all this transmission of fear, it causes a major distraction in your worship. You know what? You understand the point I'm making?
where am I? Yeah, I am. I mean, fear is what they're trying to do. Yes, and but it also it's still the addition. Okay, so they got these. It's still what Vader was saying. Fear is being used. Okay, we are to focus on the Father, absolutely, and fear not, because He has everything in His hands. But that fear is growing throughout our society, and it's all those fractals that are building, and calamity happens. It's just what, yeah.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a physical, metaphysical, spiritual thing where when your nation becomes so corrupt, there's no other option but to cleanse the land. And we literally have seen that through history, right? Like these huge empires that no nation could ever come against were just destroyed by, a natural disaster. And so I think He totally does have those judgments. I think He totally has a measuring cup where, or a scale when it passes beyond the thing. It's like it's not even like it's a part of His behavior to do those things. But also what I love about that is, like, you're talking about the innocent people and stuff that are hurt. Like, I'm definitely, anytime innocent blood is gone is bad. But I also think about all the people that come out of that, right? Like we saw over and over again, that come out of that hardship and they become like a Joshua, right? And we're gonna see that, right? Obviously, as we get into more prophets, and I'd definitely like to talk about Nebuchadnezzar more and his stuff, but with Daniel. But what my point is I just think there is a physical measuring cup, metaphysical measuring cup or scale, where after so much sin, it's like it's just in His behavior to cleanse it. It's like cleaning, it's like vacuuming. Like, I'm starting to see little things on the floor, I gotta vacuum this now. But
what's your point?
I think that's a good thing in a way, because even though bad things happen and people die and go into prison, the type of heart that comes out of that is that same heart of Joshua and the people, right? Like, think about the 40 years in the wilderness and all the stuff they had to go through, right? They had to be built up. They had to be broken down to get rid of all of that occult behavior, the worship of the idols, etc., to be able to even start having that relationship with the Father in the way that he was always with them. He didn't have to send other nations against them because they were in sin. So I know that was a little convoluted, but my point is there is a scale there where the Father in his character, he has to cleanse it. I think that's a real thing.
Yep, I do too. And I think we can't discern it exactly, but it is the Father uses sinful people to bring about judgment. He uses the presidents. But they also have their agenda. It's mixed. It's all there. But he doesn't hide. God doesn't hide anything from us. We know the end. We know what to expect, and he equips us with all the gifts and everything we need if we keep our focus on him. So he does. We're gifted with everything. If our focus is on him, not like this.
That is the message. Put God first, because he will supply all of our needs. But a lot of people don't do that. And those with weak faith are easily tossed to and fro like a ship in a storm. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's why it's getting strong now.
I just think all this stuff that's going on in the news, it's all manufactured. I think all of it is.
Well, I agree. I think a lot of it is manufactured, but I think like we can't be so arrogant as to say nothing's ever going to come down on America. Like, we already kind of could see what they did with the beer bug. Right?
No, they're trying to bring the first world down. They're trying to bring America, our economy down. It's a full-on attack on our economy.
Yeah.
They're trying to put us in a chokehold.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's why I'm saying, like, I think some of the things are real. Like, I think some of the,
what about all the food we sent over to Ukraine? What about the $40 billion we sent over in aid? How can they be, starving if we're sending all that food, all that resource? I mean, it just doesn't. They send it over, and then every church is taking donations to send food over to Ukraine. Actually, the American church feeds most of the world. There's an agency called Clear Water where they go into Africa and they dig for water, and they give communities that don't have any water, because if you don't have water, you can't grow, you can't survive. But and that's mostly the American church that is providing for all these third world countries. And if we're so consumed with providing for ourselves, then we can't provide for other countries. You know what I mean? And that's the stranglehold I see what's coming down, or at least what they're trying to do. I don't think they're going to succeed, because I know that as believers, we have more power than they could ever think of. You know what I mean? Because of our faith.
That's why I've always loved that part in A New Hope where Obi-Wan's like, strike me down now and I shall become more powerful than you can ever imagine. Like, really, that's like, why fear the person? We read the scripture. Why fear the person who can just bring you death, but not the one who can destroy your soul? It's like, literally all they can do is give us a one-way ticket to to meet our creator. So now I do believe we go to Sheol first, but what my point is like that's all they can do is take our physical body away from us, which is a one of corruption, right? We're going to get a new one that's way better. So, what can they really do? So even to those people, even to people who were wrongfully murdered and innocent blood that shed, like, I think that that in reality they shouldn't have been murdered, they shouldn't have been killed, they shouldn't have gone through that. But at the same time, it's like the Father, has them, and so. Anyways, sweet. So yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to share today. Those two scriptures, and we can continue talking more about the Revelation. But I just wanted to pull up the scripture real quick and read it to you. So this is Revelation 17:17. It says, "For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled." So what my point with that is just to say that the Father absolutely puts plans into their head where they think, "Ooh, we got this," grab their hands, grabbling like, rubbing their hands, thinking that they have this plan all figured out, but it's actually the Father that laid it on their hearts to fulfill his will. So I think even if this stuff is real, and even if they're trying to bring famine and war and tribulation upon us all, the Father still has us. He's still with us. And he's never going to abandon us. He's never going to forsake us. So, even if these tribulations do come down, like Jeremiah, and some of the people that made it through, they had to endure it to the very end. So,
right. Exactly. Absolutely correct. Yeah. And we got to be overcomers and endure to the end. Yes. Yes. Plant our roots now. Deep, deep roots. Get close to the Father more than ever. Always. Always.
Well, I'm not enduring. I'm prospering until the end. Because that's our Father's will.
yeah, but enduring isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Like,
No, I think it of as strength.
yeah, like if you're in really good times, and you're, like for us right now, right? We have to endure all these communities that are put up into us and put into media. Like, even though all of the stuff that's propped up in the world is completely against what we believe, we have to see it, we have to be in front of it. So enduring is also not being a part of them, not being a willing participant of Babylon, right?
Right.
And one more little quote is kind of going back to what Big Bear said, Owen Benjamin, and talking about the fractals, is it's not in the book, but in the first one, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, Gandalf meets with Gladriel, and she says, "Why the Hobbit?" And I'm going to paraphrase here, but I think I might be able to quote it. But it's like, Saruman finds... let me think. Okay. Why the Hobbit? Saruman believes it is only great power that can hold evil in check, but that is not what I have found. It is everyday, small, everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keeps the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love. So that's like the fractal to the other side. The way that we build the fractal that the Father wants us to do is by those, love is patient, love is kind, like doing those to our fellow man, loving our neighbors as we love ourselves. And by doing those little things, that is those fractals, those behaviors, grows this other picture that is obviously much, much better.
And it can spread out to your community, to your neighbors. You can have a nice area, land of yourself, if if it spreads out. Absolutely. Just the gifts of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, long suffering. Yeah. Walk in the Spirit. And it will overflow into other people.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I want to bring something up. This is completely off topic. That's all I want to share. Of course, if you two have anything else to share on that topic, go ahead. I'm just looking for something real.
I can't get my...
Well, I'll share a scripture while you're looking through that. It says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you." So if we just keep seeking his kingdom, his ways, his behaviors, Yeshua said, I only do what I see my Father do, and I only say what I hear my Father say. So if we act like that, then
It
all
spreads.
these things will be added unto us. Everything we need. All our needs will be met. All our wishes, all our dreams, all our visions
Wow.
will be
Okay.
fulfilled.
All right. Yeah.
It goes beyond needs. You know what? It's your desires. It says, delight thyself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Whatever you set your desire at, it's like a thermostat. You set your thermostat at 70 degrees. Eventually, your house will become 70 degrees.
Okay. Now.
So if you set your desire at what you desire, and you
All right.
use the principle of delighting yourself in Yah, in the kingdom, then that desire will be fulfilled.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just thinking of all the disciples and how they, he was put on the, things happen. Not
I'm not
everything's
saying things
not
don't happen,
everything
but
glows and does everything is just great for you because you're out there doing the Father's will. It's really some things can happen to you. But
we're gonna
your
talk
hope
about
is in the
tribulation.
Lord. Your hope and your everything is in the Lord, but it doesn't shield you from possibly what did Paul say? I've had plenty and I've had nothing, and I've been rejoicing both. So whatever. Not everything is wonderful and roses. Comes up roses because you do everything the Father's will.
It
Sometimes.
also says that these trials are temporal, and that word
Okay.
temporal means subject to change.
Okay.
You go through trials. You're gonna face opposition, of course, because we're light in a dark world. Of course, the opposition is going to come against us, but
Yes.
it's temporal. It's subject to change, and
Okay.
and it also says we go from victory to victory, from triumph
Yes.
to triumph.
I agree with all that, but
So, all right, I'm just trying to be an encourager. That's all.
So of course y'all have to wait a little bit to see it. I found what I wanted to share. So what this is Penn and Teller are magicians. They have this show called Fool Us, and I saw a short, like while I was flipping through YouTube Shorts. I saw a short of this, and then I went and found the full clip. But I just want to play a part of it. And show y'all how silly it is. So let me pull that up real quick. Okay, and then I'm gonna share this with y'all.
I lead a double life. By day, I'm a professor. I have a PhD in math. My dissertation was titled Vaught's Two Cardinal Theorem and Notions of Minimality in Continuous Logic, which I'm not going to try to explain to you right now. But by night, I'm a magician.
Okay, so wait.
Perform at venues like the Magic Castle.
So she's gonna say it here quickly.
The way I think about math research is very similar to the way I think about magic. They have a lot in common. Math research, like magic, requires a lot of very strange and beautiful creativity. And this is the same approach I take to performing magic, where I want to think outside of reality and how I can share that with my audience. Tonight I have a trick that I spent a lot of time developing just for this show. Penn Teller, this trick has a little bit of math and a whole lot of magic.
So that's all I wanted to share. The reason why I want to pull this up, obviously, the whole magician thing is a whole nother topic. Just quickly on it, I think there are totally some people who are just illusionists. They're to sleight of hand. But I also think there are people out there that are legit sorcerers, and they do some of these things to the power they gain is people think that it's fake, but they're actually watching, supernatural things happen. But anyways, what I wanted to point out, what she said, is in magic and in math, right, is these things are, you have to think outside of reality to come up to them. Now, we know that the R value in modern math is something that is very magical. It can't be found, it can't be measured, but yet with that value, they can tell you the size and distance of the sun and the moon, and the size of the earth, and the gravitational force that it would that it would be bending and warping of space and time. So yeah, I just saw that clip and it was like, wow, they really don't. They just straight up say it. We think outside of reality. So yeah, I think that's interesting. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's
Nice
funny.
words, nice words, but they think outside of reality. They're outside in the demon world. That's where they're at. But math plays a good part of magic, but then their magic is definitely from spirits. So, absolutely.
What were you gonna say, Frankie?
Yeah, and it's funny how people they use math as a spell, and people just will believe whatever formula they come up with.
Yeah, and it's the exact same thing as like an illusionist, right? Like I'm not talking about like
Yeah.
the actual ones. Like people, like the reason why people are amazed is because they're thinking of all the possible ways that could be true, searching for a way to believe in it. You know what I mean? Which is the same thing that they do with the math that we're given about, the globular Earth, or a lot of creation, or evolution, etc.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. It's, yeah, it's amazing. Did you show, oh, you talked about it. Did you show where Owen Benjamin was freaking out over flat Earth? But yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was just talking about it, I didn't show it. Yeah, go check that
Yeah.
out, guys. There's he actually, I'll put this over real quick. Someone made a really good video that he shared on BitChute. So let me pull that up for you real quick. So it's like an hour long. It's this one, Truther Journey of Owen Benjamin. He found this documentary on YouTube and then he uploaded here. It's like 3 hours long, but it shows a lot of the stuff like that he went through, and from his streams. This is his, out of his word. Well, like you will literally, he'd be like, I'm not a flat earther. I'm just saying, why can't any of the 3,000 people that are in here give me one proof that I can actually use? You know what I mean? And like no one can, because and eventually someone reads a comment like, Owen, Big Bear, no one can provide you something that doesn't exist.
He fought it. He fought it for a long time. He fought it. He did not want to be one, but he had to be. He had to come to the conclusion. So
if you're a truth seeker, like eventually you have to come to that conclusion, because not only is it scriptural, but it's through experiment and observation, it's evident. And I always think of that Romans quote where it's like, for no man will be excused because by creation of the world is evident that he created it. You know what I mean? That's like,
yeah.
But they try to make excuses for themselves by believing in this hoax.
Well, yeah. I believed in it, so I can't.
Yeah.
It's really, I believed it. And when I came out of it, it was shocking. Just all of it was shocking. So, yeah. And I got angry. I got angry that I was duped. I got angry at, I went through a lot of emotions.
The indoctrination starts at a young age. That's how they're doing it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why it's best to homeschool. Get the kids out of school. Oh, dear goodness. That's what you're doing, right, Vader?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
You're homeschooling.
Oh, yeah. Not only because of, like, what they teach them, right? but also
Right.
the new type of stuff that's going on, i.e., trying to, make them purple helicopters, and then, but also uh, the prevalence of fake or wet operations when it comes to people in places where they can't defend themselves.
Yeah.
So, among all those reasons, and I think a lot of the reason why they try to send children off to anyways is so they can get the state to be the parent and the
Oh,
provider
absolutely.
of truth and wisdom instead of the parents.
Right. Absolutely. Oh,
Hey, all right. Well, anyone else see anything interesting that I can maybe share with everyone? Or anything they want to bring up? We got about 20-ish minutes.
go wake Nick up.
Did y'all see anything interesting over the week kind of come to mind?
Oh, there was something that I just heard. It was on. Okay, it was somebody saying that. I don't know, but he says, have you looked at alcohol? Alcohol has not changed in price. Something 2 years ago it was $13 or whatever it was for that guy for a 12 pack of Corona, and now it's still 12. It's still $13. Why is that? Because it's selective. I mean, it still has to be trucked. It still has to be made. It still has to the gas, the stocking, the this, the that. Why isn't that going up? And he said it's selective what they're having go up. It's very selective. The same thing has to happen with the alcohol. You have to truck it. You have to have warehouse. You have to have stockers.
Workers. Yeah.
All the same. So why isn't that even budging? And it made me think, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, is to see what really is going up and what hasn't. And it's still the same thing has to happen. So anyway, I'm not going to say I don't know. So,
that's interesting.
But I haven't gone to the liquor store to find that out. But you guys, somebody who does knows the difference. If it hasn't gone up, then it's proof positive. It's just
I don't drink alcohol, so I have no idea.
Neither do I.
But I wonder if there are other things like that, like other industries that are kind of that are the same.
Yeah, that aren't. That nothing's raising in prices. Nothing's changing there. But yeah, I wonder. He just mentioned alcohol, so that's all I've heard. But I wonder if there are other industries. So
interesting.
Yeah, it is.
What about you, Frankie? You hear anything?
Yeah, well, that's why they're trying to legalize weed across the country, because they want to keep us comatose. I mean, they want to keep you drunk. They want to keep you distracted. They don't want you to be a free thinker. They want you smart enough just to run their machines and do their bidding. They don't want you thinking outside the box.
Well,
you're easily controlled that way.
So, yeah, no, I totally agree. I did see a couple things. What do y'all think about the whole trunk being under investigation? Apparently, they think that he took nuclear documents with him.
Oh, brother, BS! BS alert.
I just wonder why they would.
Obama took 30 million documents.
Whatever. I can't even listen to the news.
You never rated him.
It's so fabricated. It's so whatever.
They're afraid of him and the movement.
I don't even know if they're afraid of him. He's a puppet too,
They're afraid of him because he's exposing all their hypocrisy.
They're exposing themselves too.
I'm not saying he's perfect.
No, he's not.
Exposed a lot of things.
He's part of it.
Yeah,
he's part of it.
I just wanted to shout out real quick. I saw you join us, Jeremy Pyers. Thanks for being here, brother. Also, Yah and Yeshua and The Rock, thank you for being here as well. Lisa Sever's still here. My beautiful wife's chatting along. And the other, 13 of y'all, appreciate y'all being here. I pulled this up real quick. There's a couple things. They're talking about a drought, but they're saying California is due for a mega flood that could drop 100 inches of rain. That was just 3 hours ago, but I just showed y'all a plethora of, oh my gosh, we're in a drought, but now there's going to be a mega flood. So, they always have to keep something. Look at this. I don't know if y'all heard about this, that there was an Ohio FBI shooting, like someone, I saw something about this. I didn't see the full thing. Let's read it. It says, Cincinnati shooting suspect Ricky Schiffer was shot dead by police on the side of the interstate highway after he attempted to breach a visitor's interest on the FBI field office in the city. The 42-year-old Columbus, Ohio, fled the scene and attempted attack on the Thursday morning before a standoff and shootout took place hours later. The FBI confirmed his death at 3:45 following an exchange of gunfire. Officials are investigating Schiffer's ties to the U.S. Capitol riot and right-wing extremism. Ooh. And a pro-Trump social media site. Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay. Wow. Isn't that interesting? Look at that, guys. We got an FBI shooter, Trump's fault. We got FBI searching Trump. I bet they're going to say, we figured out that Ricky Schiffer actually was trying to break into the FBI to get the information so they knew that Trump knew that the FBI were coming for him. It's like, gosh, like I guess they're not that smart or clever to do that, but it's just, this is so ridiculous. And look at this. Why does the FDA want us to take so many beer bug self-tests? Because they're making hand over fist money.
Oh, aren't they, though? Oh, my gosh. I read something. I forget what it is. On just the tests alone. It's, I don't know. It's just money. Money, 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 money. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's insane how much literally they're making. See if there's in here. Oh, this looks like this is just local stuff. I live in Utah. That's why it's popping up. Sweet. Okay. Well, I guess we usually, it takes a little bit of time to go through it. So I'll go ahead and do my upkeep real quick and go ahead and pull over everything before we say our goodbyes. So let me pull that up for y'all. Bear with me just a second. And refresh. Okay. Pull that up. Oh, there we go. Sweet. So again, for those who are new, subscriptions are free. They do really help us grow and more, not only share our puzzle pieces, more with more people, but also lets us have more opportunity to bring more pieces of the puzzle to the table. So that we can all, and I say this many times, iron sharpens iron as one man sharpens another, and we don't all agree on things. We don't all have to see things eye to eye, but we are all brothers and sisters, to the same ABBA. So that being the case, we should always walk in love. And even if there is disagreements, hey guys, we all have different pieces of the puzzle, and we shouldn't judge others because they don't have the same ones that we do. So, but that being said, give us a like, give us a subscription. It really does help us grow. And of course, if you're interested in more conversation and more fellowship, we have our Discord, which is always in the description below. So check that out. It's on every video, so find it there. I wanted to bring out again that we did, let me pull this up. We did start doing our shorts. So those will be coming out every Wednesday. I'd like to start pumping it out to more than once a week and maybe do a couple a week. But as it is right now with my schedule and the time that it kind of takes me, They'll be once a week for the foreseeable future. But go check that out. It's a really great video. Thanks for the love of those have already did. And then, of course, we always read our comments out. So let's go ahead and do that. We had a few. I definitely appreciate that. Said R.A. Tacky, which is Reed. He said, thumbs up, 100%. Yep, absolutely. Thank you, brother, for that. Appreciate the love. Tammy Jones said, awesome show. You've got my sub. Thanks. That really helps us out. Really appreciate that. My lovely wife said, love this show so much tonight, and so sad I missed it live. Love hearing Frankie talk more. I agree about the division within the church community. I feel that one of our biggest setbacks as believers is that when other religions and cultures are looking at us, we look like a giant group of hypocrites because not even Christians do what our Bible tells us to do. They write over half of it off and chalk it up as symbol and symbology and metaphors instead of living our lives according to the word. All these men have made rules been added, and men have told us what to take away. Great job, everyone. Thank you, love. That's very true. And instead of making God the truth teller, we've made him the liar and every man the truth teller, which is obviously ridiculous. But thank you for the love, and of course, again, shout out Chris and Liz, Take on the World TV, for allowing us to stream on your channel as well. If y'all haven't, go check it out. Now, one real quick thing is I'd still like for those to do it. So if you haven't, please go here and vote on your favorite type of episode. We're also going to be doing a new poster soon on another day because we're trying to do, I would like to move us to 2 days. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to be there, but I'd like to stream another topic, a different topic on another day. So soon there'll be a post. Please go vote on these. They really help us kind of gauge where we should move it, what people enjoy, because we don't want to make stuff that people aren't enjoying. So anyways, but back on to Take on the World. Check them out. Subscribe to them if you haven't. Great content through the daily shows. Go check out those playlists. And of course, we'll read their comments. It's just Moonglow. Not just Moonglow. It's our dear brother, sister. I think it's sister, Moonglow. Thank you for always showing up and showing us some love. It really does. I really do appreciate it. So, yep. Other than that, remember, guys, you leave comments here. You'll get them read off during the thing. I'm just going to refresh them real quick just to make sure no one went back in there and maybe threw a comment that I'm not seeing because it's not refreshed. So just bear with me. Nothing there. And last but not least, if it will load. And that's it. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Again, go ahead and show us some love, share, help us grow. So appreciate that. Let's go ahead and pull this over. Oh, wrong one. And pull this back. Sweet. All right. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the episode and talking about Jeremiah and the tribulations and reading scriptures with us and what he had to go through, the people had to go through. And I hope y'all see the connection of the tribulations and stuff that we have to go through, that even if these things come upon us, the Father's always there with us. And even through this, he made a way. He made a remnant. He set apart a people that even through Babylon, they would come and flourish there. And we'll get to see a lot more great things, even though the country, the place, the spirit of Babylon is not of Yah's. There are those of Yah's that do live in Babylon. So, but yeah, we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes. And as always, we'll go from top to bottom. Frankie B, if you'd like to say your goodbyes.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Remember to walk in love. The only way we can defeat the enemy is by living in love and engaging with the Father. And what Jesus said, I only do what I see my Father do, and I only say what I hear my Father say. If we start to live like that, we can change the world. So just continue to dig deep. Ask the Father questions. He loves to give answers. He loves to show you His glory and His kingdom. So have a blessed Shabbat, and we'll see you next week. Dig deep.
Appreciate it, brother. And dear Sir Samasha, if you'd like to say your Shabbat Shalom, if it's dark, if it is so, go ahead.
Not Shabbat yet, I don't think. Nope, too sunny out. Shalom, everyone. But yeah, we'll see you all next week. Enjoy the show. And I do want to see that red rainbow you were talking about, Wendy. You said it in chat, but I want to see the red rainbow. She says, "Do you want to see a red rainbow?" And I should have said, "Yes, I do. Show me one."
That sounds really interesting. Actually, when I was driving home, I had to go to the corner store, but I was driving home. I actually saw like a little rainbow, but it had the crepuscular rays going through it, and it was like cutting the color of the rainbow. Like there was like stripes of rainbow where the rays were coming through, cutting out like that, just area of the color.
That's cool. Yes.
And she just linked it for you, but
okay.
Yeah, as always, appreciate you being here, Marcia.
Yep, glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, guys, thank you for the love, thank you for the sharing and liking and subscribing, all that stuff. It really does help us grow. Of course, join the Discord if you'd like to talk to us. We do a little bit of the after show, meaning we just kind of talk about whatever we can't do on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, come and join us while we're there. And but other than that, I hope y'all have a wonderful Shabbat coming up and a great week following. And until next week, remember that until next time, remember that ABBA love you first. And y'all have a great night. Goodbye, everyone. Shalom.
Goodbye, everyone.
It's your glory, conceal the mystery. You give us the honor to search a matter.